which job is a lot less fun than most people expect. Preschool teacher, especially with new COVID-19 regulations. Ever try social distancing 3-year-olds? Oh my gosh. Build a bear. Weirdest and most frustrating thing. Granted, I didn't make it a super long time in the job, and seeing kids so happy is great. But they are really strict and the bad times get pretty bad. I imagine that store is just parents with sticker shock trying to talk their kids into cheaper options. You go in to do the little $35 bear, and walk out $150 later with a bear in a full tuxedo with a skateboard and a construction helmet. That is a fairly accurate assessment. I worked there for 14 years. I'm a forensic scientist and it's literally the only thing people ask me about on dating apps. It's very technical work and it's extremely routine. I'm an archaeologist and I imagine we have very similar conversations. Usually when I meet people I avoid the topic at this point, because the pressure is on me to drive the energy of the conversation with the exciting 3% of what I do, while avoiding too many technical terms. It's kind of deflating to see how quickly people go from 100 to 0 interest because of my explanation. Professional photographer. Not like hobbyist, but business owning photographer. Sucks the love right out of your work. Because you started the business to take pictures. Then Karen doesn't like the way she looks in one of them, so she wants the whole set for free plus a shoot for free plus those images for free. Then the two high school kids getting into a very ill-advised marriage at exactly 18 years old wants to book you for their wedding, but their budget is only $50. Then Karen calls back, because she loves your work and wants to pay for another shoot. But only if you agree to do her friend's daughter's destination wedding for free. Then you get a call from your last bride. It's been 2 weeks since their wedding. Where the duck are her pictures? Then you get no leads from a bridal expo. Then a client finds out you don't support their candidate and tries to take you to court to get her money back. Then some insta thought who thinks she's influencing people offers a collab where you take pro photos of her and she adds shitty insta filters to it and claims her friend took them and she's not gonna pay. And then you get some entitled mom who wants you to photograph every day of her newborn's first year of life for $100. I went back to being a hobbyist. Same. I burnt out after a few years. You realize how weddings are so cookie cutter, no matter the religious segment that they're attached to. The shittiest one has got to be the couple who refused to honor the contract and didn't pay me after their wedding. Naturally I held their photos until payment was made. They tried suing me for not delivering their photos because apparently the 50% deposit was enough. Duck that. Took it to court and the Justice of Peace, this is in Canada, ordered him to pay up. Wasted a day and $400 to file the case. Really pissed me off for a long time since I met this couple at a church I used to go to. We even all hung out with other church friends prior. Years later, this arsehole and his wife was found to be running an illegal puppy mill. He tried discarding one of the puppies at a Plaza shopping mall by throwing it into a garbage can. The puppy was inside a garbage bag and was crying, and people heard it and rescued it. Security cameras caught and eyed him clear as day. Police raided his house and found he had a bunch of animals in unkempt condition and the whole house smelled like shit. When you Google his name now, you find all of this. Pure karma. Barnes and Noble. Your job has literally nothing to do with books and it obviously attracts a lot of that type. Myself included. My younger sister worked in the cafe for a long time. She said it was really frustrating especially since they sold Starbucks coffee but weren't an actual Starbucks store, so people would complain about not taking their gift/loyalty cards or minor variations in the drink or pastry menu. That and making espresso drinks for people's 5-year-olds just felt really slimy. Park ranger. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. But a lot of days it was less talk about cool animals while wearing your ranger hat and more the toilets are overflowing again. Go clean the septic tank filter and stir the tank with a shovel. With a little bit of hey, there's a methed out guy down by the bridge. Can you convince him to leave without killing anyone? All for the low price of $26k/year with a college degree. Edit so more people will see this. I hate the idea that this comment might dissuade anybody from becoming a park ranger. These jobs are so varied. and I just happened to work for an underfunded agency with too few staff. Honestly, I still love this job and would have kept doing it forever if a higher paying outdoor environmental job hadn't pretty much fallen into my lap. Being a park ranger taught me so much, and most importantly, I got trained as a wildland firefighter, which is still my favorite part of my job. If you've always dreamed of being a park ranger, please go for it. I do closed captioning. While I joke that yes, I get paid to watch TV, it's actually very tedious, and if you don't actually enjoy the programming you're being forced to watch something you don't care for. Or worse, if it's something I do enjoy like a long form drama, we usually chop those up into 15-minute increments and split between everyone, so I only see chunks, and not always even in order. It actually ruins the show for me. Edit. Wow. For a thread about my job not being fun. Did not expect the response for interested parties. To summarize the questions, anyone who knows proper grammar and spelling can pretty much work the technical side of closed captioning. For love writing you have to be a stenographer, which you need to train for with an associate's degree. If you're looking to do side transcription work, I'd recommend ordering a foot pedal online and looking into freelance sites such as Rev and Upwork. Working in a flower shop. It's just like any other retail job, but people constantly tell you how fun your job must be. Also, helping grieving families choose funeral flowers is not fun. I'm a marine biologist. I spent the last week measuring defrosted fish heads. The sea was angry that day. Well, I'm a scientist. I don't know if people usually think of that career as fun, but I think people think it's a lot more eureka and a lot less. This data has to be manually processed for 600 hours before I can analyze it. Yup. As a bioscientist, it's never really eureka, and much more are my cells dead? Are my fruit flies okay? Are they going to fix the microscope? Will the microscope ever be free to book? Is 6 coffees too many? And a large part of my day is spent just doing tasks I need to do to keep my work running, i.e. making buffers, sorting fly stocks, splitting cells, cleaning things, etc. And yet I miss my lab. Not a specific job, but traveling for work. I'm in tech, and a lot of people starting out talk about wanting to go to customer sites and get out in the field. I love to travel for fun, but it's hard to fit in the fun stuff when you have presentations and stuff to worry about, and a lot of times your customers aren't in the fun cities anyway. I also think I prefer the stability and day-to-day schedule of traveling less frequently. I traveled 85+% for my job 4 years. Had a colleague who bitched and whined that he was so jealous, until he hit the road and quit after less than a year. Yes, I got to go to some amazing places, but more often than not I was in a crappy hotel in a crappy location. Even in great places, your colleagues or customers go home to their families, and as much as I love exploring alone, it does get lonely. Yes, my tiara hurts my head. Wah. I finally stopped when I got assigned a new and fairly attractive destination, and all I could think was, oh ugh. How long is that flight, and can someone else do it? I sure miss my exec platinum airline status though. A pediatric nurse. Being a nurse for children and adolescents. Everyone in nursing school talks about how much they want to work with kids. The reality is that a pediatric nurse sees more cases of abuse and neglect than any other specialty. Doesn't matter where you are in a pediatric hospital, it's the thing you see most. I've seen so many DCS, Department of Child Services, caseworkers that I've gotten to know some of them and became acquaintances with them. Sure, working with children and adolescents is great, but people don't think about the most essential piece of that puzzle, which is their families. It doesn't matter how good of care you give to those kids. If you don't loop the parents into that care, you may as well just not be doing anything for them. Video editor. The more I do it, the more I can't be asked. TV/film production. I think most people dream of being the actor, the director, the people making the creative decisions, or the big shot producer calling the shots. But most of the people working in TV and film production are part of a machine. The grind. Working in a system. Trying to climb up to wherever they want to be. Many don't get to actualize their creative vision. Also, the industry can be project based, job security concerns, and location limited, Ni/la. Maybe other cities. Pay can be low starting out too, though it can be good if you work way up. But I did enjoy the type of people that work these jobs. A little more fun than the business folk I work with now. Edit. Just want to note I have a lot of respect for the TV/film industry. I would go back to it. But I would be careful about what the job and career path was. Although not necessarily bad. Beekeeping. Get used to the constant sound of buzzing during hive inspection/swarm removals, plus wearing the protective suit in hot ass weather for hours on end, give or take the situation. Also, there appears to be a large number of beekeepers allergic to bees, so EpiPens are a must. I always say the more fun it is to go somewhere, the worse it is to work there, like amusement parks and arcades. Honestly, every job that lots and lots of people really want to do sucks. Mostly due to supply and demand. You're gonna be treated like shit. And if you complain, you're gonna be fired, because you're inherently replaceable. Because there's thousands of people that would love to do your job for even less money than you are making. Baker. Coming into work at 3/4 am. So you can have a 6 am baked goods is miserable. Demolition. Everyone wants to break shit with a sledgehammer. Everyone is tired of lifting that sledgehammer by 5 swings. Nobody wants to load the broken stuff into bags or a wheelbarrow and take it to the dumpster. Video game testing. I've been working in the game industry for 6 years now, and teaching for 2. Testing video games is thought to be just, oh, you just play games all day. La 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 lil, but it's actually very specific and arduous. First of all, there are a bunch of testing methodologies such as load/soak testing, white room testing, version testing, to name a few. But the most common one is functionality testing. Functionality testing is so, if I walk into that corner with a shotgun in my inventory, I can clip through the wall. But if I have my M16 in my inventory, I don't clip through. Apostrophe. How do you go about finding out something like your example where, if you walk through a wall with a certain item, you clip? Is it just insane copious trial and error? It seems like such an insanely tough job. And then since you're only one guy, within a week someone finds some game breaking glitch fairly early on. It just seems like a tough cycle. Usually what'll happen is the tester will have it happen randomly, then try a bunch of use cases to figure out how to replicate it. Paleontologist. You don't get to work with full dinosaur skeletons and do all kinds of awesome expeditions. You're mostly sitting at a desk looking at some pictures and logging stuff on your computer. Maybe examining a fossil occasionally. If you're lucky, you can go on a real dig. And OMG spend hours in the hot sun dusting off rocks. Working in an animal shelter. For sure, it's probably less intense than zookeeping. But the amount of people who apply or volunteer expecting to come in and play with cute puppies all day is absurd. We're basically animal maids. You deal with animals of all sorts of behavioral and developmental stages, shitting and pissing every ducking where, and then you look over, and this ducking dog named Chumbo Number swimming in his water bowl, so you gotta fill that up 6 times and dry his kennel out, and then you go and mop up the cat room around 10 kittens who want to eat your mop, and also 4 children who are all yelling that there's puke in the floor and die. Must clean it. Now, not to mention all the extra behind the scenes work that the public never sees. How in the summer, during kitten and puppy season, the shelter built to house 500 maximum has 750, and I didn't take a lunch or sit at all for any of my shifts for the past 6 days. How the courts force us to put down animals that we know can be rehabilitated, but we don't get enough funding to fight it. How animal control just showed up with the 4th pregnant stray of the week, but intake is full and even double stacked in some cases. So your coworker fosters the cats on her own. Not even to mention the shitty ducking people who do dumb shit and end up getting bit or scratched, and the animal is the one who bears those consequences. I'm the proudest shelter worker in the world. I adore my job, even at its hardest. I didn't sit for 9.5 hours today, and I found a cat turd in the cuff of my jeans, but it doesn't matter because a bonded pair of adult cats got adopted today. I took 6 applications this morning, and the cat in bank 4 with the goopy eye is already looking better. and we sent a mama out to foster. The hard work is always worth it for these babies. Being an extra in a movie. Now, it can be super fun. I especially love historical and post-apocalyptic sci-fi fantasy type stuff. But a typical day on set wasn't what I thought it'd be when I started doing it. Often we have to get up at 3 or 4 in the morning to get to holding. And if you're a minute late to check in, sometimes they'll kick you out. Then we sit around in holding with sometimes hundreds of other extras. And we're usually sitting there for a good 3 or 4 hours before they start telling us to get ready to film. During this time we go through long wardrobe, hair and makeup lines where they reuse clothes unless you bring them yourself. Brushes and makeup without washing them. When we finally get to film, it's often the same mundane motions over and over, exceptions of course. And those are always fun. Then we either get shuffled around or go back to holding. Several more hours pass. We go film again. Hungry, you get lunch 6 hours after your call time. And a usually meager supply of snacks. In between takes it's more standing around. Often in heat or rain, or we all get shuffled into cramped spaces to wait. Days on set are often more than 12 hours. And I know someone who had to be on set for 26 hours straight. They can legally hold you there until they declared filming is done. So don't make plans for the next day. Not to mention that you rarely see yourself in the final cut. I'm not trying to bash other background actors or the film industry, because I've met lots of awesome people and gotten to do some pretty cool things. For example, interacting with main actors in scenes, running around in the woods with fake guns, or being a zombie. But when I did my first job as a teen, I definitely thought it would be a lot different. Eater, like others mentioned, I'm not part of the SAG union, and extras who are do indeed get treated better / more perks. Also, it may be different in Hollywood. I've only worked in Georgia. I've also been a stand-in, and I like that a lot better because you're treated as the crew rather than, well, as extra. Acting. All the ones we see on TV and movies are the 0.0001% of incredibly lucky and talented people who manage to thrive in a hostile and overcrowded industry. And even when you are working, the actual job itself is 99% sitting on apple crate in hot makeup waiting for some grips to move a lighting fixture. Then you say 3 lines over and over again for an hour, and then you rap. Google Street View driver. You're all alone for 8+ hours a day. Can almost never take a break. Need to constantly be on and focused, lest you crash the $25,000 Subaru with $60,000 plus worth of camera equipment on it. You end up becoming an amateur meteorologist to keep track of weather patterns and cloud cover. And in my experience, there are a lot of people who just get insanely upset at you, at Google, and the job in general for a wide variety of reasons. I enjoyed myself when I did it, but it was nowhere near as glamorous or fun as I or my friends and family assumed. Edit. Thanks to everyone who expressed an interest in my summer job from almost 10 years ago. I'll just answer the most asked questions here real quick. Pay $15 an hour, but contingent on hours driven, which were themselves dependent on clear weather to ensure optimal image quality. Why not drive every day, no matter the weather? Google got around this problem by making you redrive routes. Pictures turned out subpar. To prevent people double billing by driving the same easy route constantly, you also had a weekly quota of unique miles driven. So no double dipping. What could you do in the car? As long as the camera and the mapping software, edit, mapping software, thanks for the heads up, was running properly, I was on my own. I listened to music, the news, and lots of books on tape. I could stop for short bathroom breaks whenever I felt like it, and had an hour guaranteed for lunch whenever I wanted to take it, which usually amounted to eating in the car on the side of some lonely rural road 90% of the time. Who would ever think this was fun or glamorous? All I can say is, back in 2012 most people I talked to were pretty excited, myself included, about getting the chance to do any work with Google, let alone this cool new project that would let you see what any place on earth looked like at street level from the comfort of home. This was the era of Google Plus being a potentially exciting new thing, of Google Glass being the future of tech, and overall it was a different time. That's why everyone I knew thought this was a cool gig. Being a character performer at Disney. Don't get me wrong. There are some amazing perks and truly magical moments. I know I'm super lucky and tons of people would love to be in my shoes. But the day-to-day work is exhausting in ways I never thought possible. Guests are ridiculously abusive. I've had things said and done to me I never would have imagined. The company isn't always great. It highly depends on your leadership. And there's so much focus on your body and face, good and bad, that it can be incredibly depressing and difficult emotionally. Plus, you have to accept that there's very little upward mobility. Most people grow out of it, and it's rough to know that one day you'll get too old or too fat, and you will have to start all over in a new career field. So you constantly are thinking either 1. What you're going to do when you leave. 2. How you're going to keep yourself there. I personally knew it would be temporary, and I now only work there seasonally while I have a normal career. But Disney has a way of sucking you in. Edit. Hey, my first award. Thank you so much. Working in a music store, musical instruments. Your days are spent listening to 50 different people play 50 different riffs poorly simultaneously, as if they are all putting on their own concert. A whole lot of Iron Man and Stairway. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.